are some people in this world who love a good horror film or a horror story. I am not one of them. Definitely not one of them. Whether a film or a book, the supernatural, the realm of the dead, the shrieking in the darkness, every night they hear the cries, the howling. Sometimes they're quick, clever enough to catch them. They're bound. Ankles are chained, but those chains rattle. The naked bodies dragged back into the town like a trophy. Good overcomes evil, for a moment at least. He breaks free, trailing those broken chains, wandering into the wilderness, pain etched into his face. There is no place for him. Isolation, separation, and loneliness. No one knows the horror of the story. No one knows his name. If he has a soul worth saving inside his living corpse, no one sees it. No one dares look. Until Jesus does. I see you. What is your name? Jesus is pushed away. I see you. What is your name? Who are you? Who are you, really? Not what you appear to be on the face of things. Beneath the label of your career, your role, your diagnosis, your relationship. Who are you? Who are you when no one sees you? When no one is looking at you? When you're not the churchgoer, the cancer patient, the spouse, parent, child, sibling or friend? When you're not the banker or the shop worker or the hairdresser or the church warden or the funny one or the vicar or the friend? Who are you? What is your name? Who were you before you lost yourself? Who were you before something vital in you died? Do you remember? I wonder if you dare allow Jesus to ask that question of you this morning. Or do you too approach Jesus not to ask for help, but to keep Jesus at bay? Do not torment me. Maybe even we push Jesus away when Jesus says, "What is your name?" And with that simple question, Jesus begins to recall the broken one back to himself from among the tombstones where there is no life. Jesus brings the broken one back in touch with humanity and begins again by reminding the broken one of their unique and precious identity, that above all things, you are a beloved child of God. That's the beginning of the story, not the conclusion. The story doesn't end with us knowing that we are a beloved child of God. It's where it begins, and it's where, if we want to experience life in all its fullness, we too are invited to begin with an honest questioning of ourselves, naming the truth of who we really are, and with a willingness to hear Jesus when he asks that tender and sometimes unbearable question, "What is your name?" A question that lays bare the whole truth. Legion. My name is Legion. A multitude, a vast host, a swarm. A Roman army unit of about 6,000 soldiers. I am overrun, divided and separated, fragmented and fractured, life broken into 6,000 pieces, a myriad of brokenness in our lives and in the world around us. The assault on mind, body, and soul is relentless. Legion, stripped of agency, sanity, dignity, and community, isolated, anonymous. The soul numbed, the mind divided, deprived of self-control and propelled towards self-destruction. That self-destruction that we see in our world today. Addictions, alcohol, wealth, sex, food, thinness, addicted to the need to be right. Some of us experience the world at a deafening volume. For some of us, the colours are too bright for sensitive eyes. We find ourselves enslaved, chained to the internet, prone to bitterness or frustration, in lust with our own righteousness, our own agenda, our own bandwagon. Sometimes creating the illusion of goodness by weaponizing the church or God's mission along the way in pursuit of our own purpose. Some of us, with Legion, can't shake traumatic memories of past hurts, emotional and spiritual wounds that simply won't heal. Some of us have been abused, some have abused others, or abused positions, or abused trust. Some of us have been all those things. Among us and in our world, people seethe with jealousy and anger. Systems of injustice imprison us. They're so entrenched that we can barely imagine the possibility of liberation. For some of us, our accent, our gender, our sexuality, our role, they're magnets for other people's hatred. Theologian Debbie Thomas expands the definition of possession. We heard in the reading about possession. She says this: possession includes everything that conspires to keep us dead when God longs for us to be alive. Legion, the myriad of all that is possessive, that seeks to control, that has tenure, ownership, and custody. And so the story of the Gerasene demoniac, I think, is the water in which our world swims today. And that which controls us, we try to manage, we try to control back, we try to get a grip of. So we do everything from self-medication to meditation and mindfulness. But in doing so, we bury large parts of our lives, both as individuals and as a community, because they're just too difficult to deal with, or there's too much shame, or there's not enough trust. We organise and order, and we avoid that which is painful, or we numb it, or we push it away. We make it live among the tombstones. We just won't go there. We won't name it. It's easier to leave it in the darkness of the tombstones and not bring it into the light. Did you notice that without hesitation or apology, when Jesus is seen, Legion falls down before him? The townspeople came running. They found him there, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. Peace, justice, and dignity restored. Salvation doesn't come through order and control, and certainly not in our own strength, but by surrendering to the one alone who has the power to cast out those horrors which torment us. Not because Jesus has power and control, but because that which seeks death rather than life finds Jesus terrifying. There is no death-dealing power in the universe that can withstand the saving, healing, resurrecting power of Jesus. What is your name? In asking that question, that which we bury, even the most destructive demons that we dream of, the horrors that haunt our minds, our fears, In the light of Christ, we can find hope. We can move towards healing and wholeness and the possibility of living life differently, not because of some vain hope of life after death, but precisely because we live in the tension between now and not yet. The abyss has yet to swallow the demon's whole. Legion is still among us. But we're reminded again with the townspeople that when Legion is found, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, there is no rejoicing, no relief, no gratitude, no celebration, no awe and wonder. Even though they know and they see, people are still fearful, still anxious and still afraid. And the townspeople still beg Jesus to leave. Perhaps it's a case of better the devil you know. Maybe we demonize some people as bad so that we can be good, or because it makes us feel better, or because it means we don't have to do the hard work of working out how we can bear with or be with one another. Or sometimes, frankly, how we can even be with ourselves, burying those parts of our lives that we don't really want people to know about because we're ashamed, or because we can't bear the thought, or we can't trust how we'll be received, or indeed how we will treat others in return. Maybe we settle for tolerance of ourselves, of others, rather than choosing Jesus' love. Those shackles and chains that bind so many of God's precious children are of humanity's own doing. Slaves to technology, to productivity, to status, standing, wealth, and identity. All those things that we think are precious. God forbid that such prosperity would be among us. That instead it would be driven like swine over the hillside to oblivion. Just like the unclean swine. Perhaps those things need to be for our life's sake. The gospel we preach is salvation and hope and forgiveness and peace. The gospel also brings upheaval. It messes with our ethics, our morals. Jesus disturbs our comfort, our strategy, our society, our plans in ways that are difficult, challenging, and seemingly sometimes impossible. And yet, in the discomfort of war and death and devastation, we need Jesus to disturb us. It might seem easier some days to stay dead, to ask Jesus to leave us alone, to ignore Jesus rather than experience the reality and demands of resurrection, of new life. Peace, justice, and dignity is restored when we sit at Jesus' feet. Then, enclosed by Christ's love, nakedness and shame are no more, and we can find ourselves in our right mind. And perhaps a final thought. Did you notice how Jesus commissioned Legion to stay? The man living in the tombstones was invited to dwell among the same people who had feared him, bound him, and trapped him for years. He was there as a witness, to tell his story as a reminder that the very people we consider the most unholy, the most unredeemable, sometimes the most repulsive or the most unworthy, perhaps the very parts of ourselves that we consider the most unholy, the most unredeemable, or the most repulsive and unworthy. In examining those, in being with those, there we find Jesus' commission. And through those things, Jesus teaches us his good news. All that from one question. What is your name? What is your name?